Blueberries are plump, sweet, and juicy, with a color range that varies from indigo to deep purple. Join the Mission Community Nutrition Team for Power to Blueberries. We are here at Canterbury Farms, growers of blueberries. Blueberries are low in calories and high in nutrients, widely eaten across the nation, but don't have a long-standing history of being cultivated as a fruit. The history of blueberries dates back to the early 20th century, when the daughter of a New Jersey farmer teamed up with a botanist to breed blueberries. The first crops were harvested in 1916, igniting the blueberry boom and our love for this tiny fruit. With its sweetness and juiciness, this small fruit packs a punch and can enhance the flavor of just about anything. So follow me into the kitchen as we illustrate some recipes. As mentioned, blueberries pack a punch and can be used in a variety of recipes. Let's get started with our blueberry coconut juice. You see here we have about 1 cup of blueberries, 1 cup coconut juice, honey, and fresh lemons. Now with your blueberries, you can, if it's a summer season, you can go ahead and use some fresh blueberries from a local farm. If it's off season, you can find frozen blueberries or blueberries in your local grocer. Now if they're frozen, this will be more of a smoothie than of a juice, but can still be used. So we'll go ahead and put our blueberries into our blender. We've got 1 cup of coconut juice here. Any coconut juice you find is okay. If you'd like to use coconut milk in here instead, perfectly okay. It'll make it a little bit creamier. Now with your lemons, you can go ahead and put your lemons into a squeezer here and separate the juice so you can measure out exactly 1 tablespoon. You can also make it quick and easy. Take your lemon, squeeze it right into your blender. Just make sure you don't get any of the seeds inside of your mixture. Now, I am super comfortable with eyeballing honey. In this type of recipe, keep in mind that it is what you enjoy flavor-wise. So we're going to do 1 tablespoon is about a pass, so a circle around your blender. You're going to do a 2nd tablespoon. You can also take a tablespoon measuring spoon and measure it out so that way you get a perfect recipe. We'll go ahead and put the lid on here. Place it onto our blender. This will make 2 servings if you use the measurements that we've given you. Again, if you want to make more, increase the servings. Super easy. Adjust the flavor to whatever you prefer and enjoy your blueberry coconut juice. Our next recipe today is our quick and easy blueberry compote. This is a great recipe to get started in the morning. If you're making pancakes or waffles, get this going on the stove. It'll be warm and ready by the time you have those done. Pour this over your pancakes and your waffles, or once you've boiled it down, you can go ahead and store it in your refrigerator to put on ice cream or granola at a later time. So we've got about 2 cups of blueberries, honey, oranges for fresh orange juice. You can also use orange juice out of a carton, totally fine. You only need 1 tablespoon, so whatever you have on hand, and then just a little bit of water. We are going to start by taking our blueberries, about 2 cups, putting those into our saucepan. Again, with blueberries, you can use frozen, fresh. If it's in the summer season, go ahead and find a you-pick farm such as Canterbury and grab some fresh blueberries. We are going to have about a tablespoon of water. Again, you can eyeball this or take a perfect measurement. Just like the lemons before, you can squeeze about a tablespoon of orange juice into your mixture, or go ahead and put it into your juicer, squeeze some out here, and get a perfect measurement. Then the same thing with the honey. We are going to use 1 tablespoon of honey. You can go up to 2. It totally depends on how sweet you want this. Blueberries are sweet on their own, so you don't need to go overboard here. You can also use agave or sugar if you have that on hand, so don't get stuck on the honey, but it's a great option, especially if you can find it locally. We are going to give this a good stir. And if you're using fresh oranges, as you'll see in this mixture when we go to cook it, you may get a little bit of that orange pulp in here. Totally fine. We're going to take this and get it onto our stove on high, bring it up to a boil. Once it starts to boil, you'll reduce it to a low and simmer. Stir it constantly for about 15 minutes until it starts to thicken. Then you'll be all set. And again, while it's warm, pour it over your pancakes or your waffles and enjoy. We are all always looking for that sweet treat, right? But we've got to pick something that's healthy for us. One of my favorite things to do, whether it's blueberries or strawberries or any sort of fruit, is making frozen bites. So right now we're going to go ahead and show you how to make the frozen blueberry bites. It's as simple as it sounds. We have got here a vanilla Greek yogurt, a lemon Greek yogurt, and 1 cup of blueberries split into 2 containers so we can roll them in the yogurt separately. You can use any yogurt you like. If you want to take it dairy-free, pick a yogurt that's made from soy milk or almond milk, cashew milk, any of the above. The reason we went with the Greek is it's a little bit thicker, it coats the blueberries a little bit better and freezes up really well. What we're going to do is we are going to take, for about a 1/2 cup of blueberries, you want 1 to 2 tablespoons, sort of eyeballed, of your Greek yogurt. You're just simply going to coat all of your blueberries. So I've got our blueberries coated in lemon Greek yogurt here. Have your kiddos help on this one too. Give them a spoon, mix it up. All they need to do then is put some parchment paper down on a sheet tray for them, like so. And the goal here is to get them spread out so they don't freeze into one big clump. As Jessica mentions, blueberries are packed full of nutrients and antioxidants. This is a great way to have that to really hit that sweet tooth without all the extra sugars. We are going to take these and put them in the freezer for about 2 hours. If you're making these for tomorrow or the next day or just to have on hand, you can leave them in longer. Once they set up, you can take them off the parchment paper and put them into a bag. Because they're all frozen individually, they won't become one big clump at that point. So we'll go toss these in, and when they're done, we'll show you what they look like. So we let those blueberry bites set up for about 2 hours. You can see here that they are frozen little morsels of goodness. Take these out of the freezer for your kiddos, for yourself, and they are a antioxidant packed, delicious little treat. Enjoy. Our final recipe with power to blueberries is a blueberry bread pudding. Delicious comfort food. You can make this as a dessert in an evening or go ahead and serve it on a Sunday brunch. Either way. Ingredients for these are going to be 2 cups of milk, 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Pure vanilla extract is what I recommend, not the imitation. You'll get a better flavor out of it, as well as about 4 cups of day-old bread. 2 cups blueberries, give or take, less if you don't want it super full of blueberries, more if you do. Some butter, and then 1 cup sugar and 2 eggs. For your day-old bread, most grocers in the bakery department, you can either ask for day-old bread. Sometimes they also have a section that they've just placed it on discount for. This is the best thing for it. Or if you've bought a loaf of French bread and you have it sitting around at your house, use that to sort of tear up and use for this. You want the bread to be a little bit crunchier, not super fresh and soft, so that way it can actually hold on to all of the moisture that we're about to put in it. Rub the whole bottom, sides, everything. You want a good coat or a nice layer of butter on here. For your day-old bread, you can do one of 2 things. You can do like I've started to do here, tear it into 1.5 to 2 inch chunks. Doesn't have to be perfect. Or go ahead and get a knife out, cut it into the 1.5 to 2 inch chunks. Now that we've got all of our bread torn up, we're gonna go ahead and set this one aside. We are going to take our 2 cups of milk. I've measured it out here in a measuring cup. You can go ahead and just use a traditional measuring cup and pour it into a bowl. As you've noticed throughout this entire episode, eyeballing ingredients when you're making stuff like this is totally okay. It's also perfectly fine to measure them out so that way you know you're following the recipe exactly. As you get more comfortable, you might eyeball a little bit more. So a good quick tip is that this little cap that's on top of your vanilla, wherever you get it from, is pretty close to a teaspoon. I use this as an eyeball for what I'm going to put into my other ingredients. So we've got 2 cups milk, about 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla. We will give this just a quick little mix here and then set this aside for later. We are going to pour all of this milk and vanilla mixture over our bread and let it sit. You want to get everything nice and coated. Remember, you want it to soak up all of this moisture because it's day-old bread and we're going to be baking it, so you don't want it to be a dry bread pudding. You can kind of give this a quick toss just to make sure that everything's covered in the milk and vanilla mixture. All right, we've washed our hands, we've got our bread soaking. You want to let this soak about 5 minutes. While that's working, we are going to take 2 eggs, crack them into a bowl here. If you are afraid that you're gonna get shells in your eggs, crack them separately and then pour them into your bowl. That's perfectly fine. And then we've got 1 cup of sugar. We're going to pour all of this in with our egg mixture. Trust me, it works. If you have an electric mixer, you can use that here. Also, a whisk works just fine. Break up your yolks, and we are going to whisk this until it lightens up just a little bit and starts to become fluffy. If you're mixing this by hand, it takes a little bit of elbow grease. Otherwise, if you've got an electric mixer at home, it'll happen lickety-split. All right, so we have our eggs and our sugar mixed up. Thank goodness we have the power from the blueberries to keep us strong for this. You can see that it is a little bit lighter, has a little bit of a fluffy consistency. You don't need it too fluffy or with peaks on it like you would if you were doing egg whites. We'll take this whole mixture with our spatula and get this poured right over our bread. Remember, our bread has been soaking in the milk and vanilla. Give this a good stir. You want everything incorporated in here. Don't be afraid if the bread starts to break down just a little bit. That's okay. Bread pudding is sort of all glued together. You just are ensuring that all of your bread pieces are nice and soaked. It's a little bit messy right now, but this is what we're starting with. We will go ahead and take our baking dish, get that ready. And last, before we add this into our baking dish, again, the recipe calls for 1 to 2 cups. I've got about 2 cups of blueberries here. Whatever works for you guys is fine. We will pour our blueberries onto here, get those incorporated into our bread, milk, vanilla, egg, and sugar mixture. And then all we're going to do is pour this into our baking dish. While this is mixing, you can turn on your oven to 375, let it preheat, get it nice and going. Once you have everything in your baking dish here, we are going to take a little bit more butter for the top. So again, you can take 1 tablespoon of butter and cut it into little chunks, or you can just take little pieces like this. They're about 1/2 inch. You want 6 to 8 of these. We just want to put a few on top so that way this dish can brown up. The butter will help the top of the dish brown. All of that delicious bread in there. And we'll do a couple more for good measure. So now that these are all done, here you have the beginning of your blueberry bread pudding. We are going to go ahead and put this in our 375-degree oven for 45 minutes. 45 to 50 depending on your oven. Traditionally though, 45 should be just enough until it's about golden brown. While I do that, I will go ahead and get the ingredients for our topping and show you how to make that. We'll be right back. Okay, so our blueberry bread pudding is in our oven at 375 degrees. We've set a timer for 45 minutes. We'll go ahead and check on that in a little bit. While that's cooking, I'll show you how to go ahead and make a quick little topping. You can use a myriad of things to top your bread pudding. Today, we're going to make an easy glaze. We're going to take about a 1/4 cup of milk. You can substitute throughout this whole recipe. If you want to use coconut milk or something else, you can. So don't be afraid of that if you need to switch things up. We've got some fresh lemon here. We're just going to do a quick squeeze of lemon into this. Not much, about a tablespoon. As mentioned before, if you want to squeeze your lemon into a separate dish and then measure it out, totally fine. 1 swirl of honey through here. Maybe a little bit more for sweetness. Again, about a tablespoon of honey, measured out if you want, otherwise just eyeball it. We are going to whisk this together and then you're going to pour this into a saucepan and low and slow, heat it up, let it reduce down, everything to marry together. It's going to be a nice thick consistency of almost a condensed milk, like a glaze, and you'll pour that over your bread pudding. Delicious, nice and fresh, and a good pairing with your blueberries. Now that we let our bread pudding cook in a 375-degree oven for 45 minutes, we pulled it out. You can see that it's nice and golden brown. We'll go ahead and do a generous serving here and top with our glaze. And there you have it, blueberry bread pudding. As you can see, there are a variety of recipes that you can use blueberries in. Now, Jessica Bean, our resident nutritionist, will provide insight on the health and nutrition benefits of blueberries.
Thank you, Autumn. I have to tell you, I am so excited that we're in peak blueberry season. I've been out picking blueberries, putting them in my Ziploc bag, sticking them in the freezer so I can have them for winter and fall. And I encourage you to do the same. If you can get out into your local farmer's market, your grocery stores, the blueberry fields where you can come pick, like here where we're at, try to get your hands on them so you can have them throughout the rest of this year. So let's talk about some of the wonderful benefits of blueberries. Blueberries are nutrient dense, which means you can get a lot of benefit for very low calorie. And some of those nutrients that you get, it's a good source of vitamins A, C, and E. So I like to think of that as an ace in the hole or a winning hand. You also get vitamin K, potassium, calcium, iron, zinc, magnesium. So it is so beneficial for your body to get those nutrients. Also, blueberries are loaded with anthocyanins, which are responsible for the blue and the purple pigments, and they actually help protect your heart from plaque buildup. They're beneficial in preventing tumor growth with an antioxidant called ellagic acid. They also are good for helping to moderate blood sugar levels and protecting your brain. So if you can load up in blueberries, you're going to see that your brain, your heart, your body is overall happy and healthy by adding it into your daily nutrition. If you can, try to get at least 1 cup a day of not only blueberries, but go for the different color berries of raspberries, blackberries, strawberries, so that you can truly get the benefit of berries. Enjoy.
Let's make our way back out to the blueberry farm and join Clarissa and Doug, owners of Canterbury Farms, to learn more about blueberries.
Our farm we've had since 1954, and I'm Clarissa, and I'm the third daughter of 4 girls that I happen to be the one that remained on the farm. And we started the farm, my family started the farm basically as a U-pick commercial farm.
But one night we were playing pinochle with her parents, and I said to her father, they'd actually had the farm out of the family for about 3 years, and they thought they had it sold, but the people that were here decided it was way too much work for what they really wanted to do. So they hadn't done any work to speak of at all, and my future father-in-law was fretting about what he was going to do with the farm. And I said, I'll make you a deal. If I get to marry your daughter, I'll fix up your farm for you. And he said, done. And, you know, from there on out.
We figured maybe a year, because Doug was off to, we both graduated in political science. And so we were going to go to law school, but then he also had gotten a job offer, Juneau, with the Senate up there to work for him, because he'd worked in
I worked for the state Senate here in Olympia before.
And so he was going to plan to keep doing that. We'd stay here a year, get the farm back into shape so my folks could sell it. And, well,
one year has turned into 40 years later.
Here we are.
We're sitting here today. Yeah.
We're still at the farm, yeah.
And in 1983, we actually started producing and marketing our own line of blueberry products, and we would sell down at the Pike Place Market. So that was under the Canterbury Farms brand name, and we sold down there for 32 years. We also did a mail order all over the world, and that's what kept us busy for a long time.
And truthfully, you look at us now and you think, what do these guys do? Because it's the 2 of us do the farm, and you saw we had a couple of high school gals that help us, but we used to run like 15 employees, a couple employees at the market. I had different people help with processing, and then the mail order. And we had about 10,000 people on our mail order list.
And if you've been to the Pike Place Market, you know that on a given summer day, there can be somebody from any continent there in the world. And we'd actually have shipped to all continents except Antarctica, and that was because they took it with them themselves.
So we hit every continent in the world, so that's really cool. We have, we have some heritage.
So what are the varieties?
Yeah, we have old varieties here. They were, like, the main one is the Jerseys, and those were originally hybridized back in like 1919, and those were a wonderful old breed that they did for flavor. And right now it's probably the base family. It's a base for a lot of the ones they hybridize now for, you'll see in the markets and that.
The Dukes, the Blue Crops, they all have Jersey as a parent. And the thing they liked about the Jersey was it was very flavorful. It was reasonably susceptible to, less susceptible to disease than some of the earlier varieties, and it had some shelf stability to it, meaning that they could pick it and still have it and sell as already picked berries. It's just a great flavored berry. We have,
but that's what made our products so good. Was that we used the old varieties in the products. And other people say, I made blueberry jam, it's so blah. And I said, well, you didn't make it out of our blueberries. And so we kind of have this thing, we say, you know how wine regions grow different tastes of berries? Here we call it our terroir, because we have a shadow of a hill that cools our berries fast, makes the sugar content high, and our sandy loam is really good for growing the blueberries in. But now if you look at blueberries here in Washington State, you'll see people that have whole sections of blueberries. I mean,
and they're growing in all parts of the state. The head of the Blueberry Commission in Washington State actually grows blueberries over in eastern Washington now. But one of the things Clarissa mentioned, the growing conditions and stuff, you can take the same variety of blueberries and grow it in a different area. We've got our sandy loam soil here. Over Lake Blueberry Farm in Bellevue, used to be a big blueberry farm. They had the same varieties as what we did, but they have a high organic soil with a lot of natural moisture in it. And then you can take that same variety and grow it up around the Connor, Mount Vernon area where it's wide open and flat. Weather conditions really generally affect the taste of blueberries. With us here, it cools down in the evening real rapidly, which develops the sugar in the berry that gives you a huge part of the flavor.
And one of the things, you know, I think I have to educate people as to what variety you have. It's kind of hard because people come here and they think bigger is better. And I had a really cool thing the other day. I had this lady that had gone on a culinary trip to Croatia. And one of the ladies in her group was from France. And she says, "What is it with Americans?" And she told this lady, she says, "We look at your strawberries and you have these big strawberries. You look at all your fruit and you need big. Why do you have to do big? Because big doesn't mean good flavor." She says, "If you are a culinary person, you should know that small's better." So it was kind of funny, and this lady was definitely a culinary person. She understood. I didn't have to educate her that these taste different, but it was fun to show her the jerseys. And
the thing about taste and favorites, it varies from person to person. Each one of us have our own palate. We've got another variety in our field called a Dixie, which we describe as a cinnamony flavor or a spicy flavor, and it's not really either one of those, but if you were describing wine, those are the types of terms you would use in them. And the people that love the Dixies like that flavor. And then we have another one called a Rubel, which is a real small berry, and it is the first cousin. Yeah, it's the first cousin of a wild blueberry. And we had someone yesterday that requested that because it's very dark in color, which indicates the high
antioxidants.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
and that's what you judge them by, is their color. You get the lighter blueberries and they're lower in antioxidants. You get the darker ones, the higher antioxidants.
People will look at them and they look kind of dusty. And that's actually the bloom on a blueberry, which is a protective yeast coating that keeps the blueberry from disintegrating or degrading rapidly. And that's not the color that we're talking about. When you take that color off, wipe that natural coating off of there, and you look at the skin, you want the dark colored ones because that's where all the good things in blueberries are.
Thank you for joining us today on Mission Community Nutrition. For more information on today's recipes and to see the full interview with Doug and Clarissa, please visit our website at nutritiouscommunity.com. To find the recipes used on today's show and further information, please visit www.nutritiouscommunity.com. Support for Mission Community Nutrition comes from the following: Virginia Mason Franciscan Health, Washington State University Extension, Spectra, City of Federal Way. For further information on Canterbury Farms, go to their website at canterburyfarms.com.